Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam. And how you say?
Vande Guru Param.
Ishvaro Guratmeti Moti Veda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Tava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satiguru Pranatoshamaham. Oh. All right. We are back on Panchadasi. Do we have any questions regarding Panchadasi or whatever? Or we can jump into it? Or Mark, shall we jump into it? Jump right into it? So we last week, we are looking into the Anandamaya Kosha, the Bliss Sheath, and we went into some depth in the analyzing this level of experience that we all enjoy. We enjoy it either when we have our intellect and mind suppressed, but we enjoy as well, or even better, when we are awake and alert and with a very sattvic condition, mental condition, so that we experience a different sort of bliss, a conscious bliss. And this bliss is an experience of the reflection of our true nature in a mind or in a subtle body that is properly resolved, properly, serene and calm and contemplative and reflective and so on. So we looked into those subtleties, and the verse number 9 says, when the subtle body gets what it wants, it turns inward, catch the reflection of the bliss of awareness and merge into conscious sleep. So very nicely put. It's known as the Sheaths of bliss. So when the Jiva Atma, because as we know, the subtle body is just inert energy, matter. When the Jiva Atma gets what it wants, it's just chasing something and gets what it wants, and then it does turn inward. What it means, it does turn inward. It means that it stopped turning outward. Because when the Jiva Atma is under the spell of avidya, it produces desires to gain things or to remove things. Okay, and then it is where it is outwardly trying to get or try to push away things, right? So when it accomplishes, this gaining or avoiding, and then for a moment it says it turns inwards, but it stops moving outwards, and then it rests. When it rests, and then it experiences this lovely reflection of consciousness in a sattvic mind, a mind free of desires and aversions, right? And then it experiences, catch this reflection of one's very nature, and merges, and then it merges into a kind of it's a kind of sleep, but it's a conscious sleep, which is much more valuable than the sleep in the middle of the night or in the afternoon, the deep sleep. Because in the deep sleep, as we know, we are not really conscious, we are subconscious at the most. Okay, so we have looked into that, and then now we begin from the number 10, the verse number 10. the bliss sheath cannot be the self either because it is temporal and impermanent. The bliss which reflects in it is eternal, immutable awareness. So first it says that the bliss sheath cannot be the self because it's subject to time, meaning to say it has a beginning, middle, and an end. So we know that bliss sheath, it's again, I mean, all those 5 sheets are different categories of levels of experience. Okay, we do have physical experience, and then we have energetic experience, we have mental emotional experience, we have some intellectual experience, which translate as determination and knowledge, and then we have this no mind sort of experience that people seek and search in the spiritual world. I want the no mind experience. So when the mind rests and stops producing desires and fears. So those are different levels of experience. So this bliss experience, it happens there through the causal body. It cannot be the self either. Why? Because the self is not any sort of experience. The self is the nature of the experiencer. The self will never going to be found in any level of experience, not even the highly desirable experience of Anandamaya Kosha, of Samadhi. Not even up there the self is going to be found, because the self is not an object of experience, as we have already determined over and over again, and we have a total conviction regarding that understanding. So the self cannot be an object of experience, because every object of experience is bound by time. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end, okay? And the self, what we are searching and seeking, which is our very nature, we search and seek because we want to find that which is our eternal nature, which is beyond birth and mortality, that which is never not present. So we want to find the self because we heard that the self is that which is eternal, okay? Before or beyond, birth and death. So every one of these levels of experience has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It has a birth and a death. It changes. So the bliss sheaths, all those subtle experience gained through experience through the causal body, and we have to make parenthesis here to say that in the awakened states we experience the Ananda Kosha, and it's presented in the previous verse here as a conscious sleep. So we are still conscious, we are in awakened state, but as if sleeping. So we are not producing desires, we are sleeping in respect to the world of objects, okay? So when we experience any of these sheaths, including the Anandamaya Kosha, we experience something that is born in time and modifies from moment to moment, and it fades in time. Okay, so therefore, this level of experience is temporal, and we have no doubt about that. It's bound by time, and it is impermanent. So what is the definition of impermanent, which is not permanent, but I think it would be more appropriate to say it's temporal, and it fluctuates, it's subject to degrees of change. Impermanent is almost like temporal. Impermanent is not kind of synonymous of temporal. Mark? Yeah. So the verse would maybe be better translated, saying that it's temporal and subject to change, okay? Because it fluctuates. All those levels of experience, they are not stable. No, they are subject to this fluctuation, okay? The intensity of the experience, the intensity of this well-beingness, the bliss, it will depend or not. It will depend on the reflecting medium, which is dependable on the configuration or proportions of the three gunas, of course. So if there is a little bit more rajas into the equation, and then that state is going to turn into dream state or awakened state, because there is too much rajas into the equation there, right? So because it's temporal and not subject to modification, fluctuation, and now because it's temporal and this bliss sheath is subject to modification and fluctuation. The self does not fluctuate. And this is sometimes difficult for people to grasp. So what consciousness is not subject to fluctuation? Yes, it does not. But due to this intimate, quote unquote, connection with the mind and the intellect, which are subject to fluctuation, we believe that the consciousness, awareness, is subject to fluctuation. We'll say, no, I mean, my awareness, my consciousness when I was 5 years ago, when I was 5 years old, is different from the consciousness that I have now that I am 150 years old. No, it's not different. The mind and the intellect, the functions, of the jivatma, the mental function, the mental motion, they are different. But the consciousness, if we will look very, very carefully and examining our experience from moment to moment, we see that this light of consciousness is not subject to fluctuation. The mind and the intellect and the other organs, functions, they fluctuate, definitely. So the bliss which reflects in this bliss sheath, there is a bliss, it is reflecting this bliss sheath, now in this case in the subtle body or causal body. So it's a level of experience that extends itself in between the causal body, the deep sleep, and the awakened state when the mind is awake but is sleeping to the world. So this bliss, which reflects in this mental condition, in this mind, in this human mind, this bliss, which reflects in truth, is the eternal, immutable, beyond time and space consciousness / awareness. The bliss is going to reflect in the mental condition of the jivatma, and this bliss is immutable, a temporal awareness of consciousness. Okay, so and then whatsoever bliss we experience due to what? Due to the blissful nature of consciousness, or the fullness nature of consciousness, or the non-dual nature of consciousness. So the nature of consciousness is such that it can be experienced whenever our intellect, our mind is in such a state that it serves the purpose of reflecting it, almost identical to its nature, but then it becomes experiential, okay, because it's happening in duality. It happened in the mind of the experiencer that experienced the world of object, and now it is experiencing the most subtle and intimate object. Oh, it is an object. Yes, it is an object. It's a reflection of my true nature. You understand? And then it's so easy for us to believe that, this is the real deal. But the real deal is the conscious awareness, which is immutable, that is reflecting in that bliss condition, the bliss sheath condition of the mind. Didn't make it clear? Sometimes I try to explain myself too much and then I make it more confused. Every reflection presupposes an original source. So we cannot have a reflection without having an object reflecting upon something else. So we have something, and then we have a reflecting medium, a mirror, and then we have a reflection. We cannot have an elephant, reflect in the mirror unless there is an elephant in my living room. Or in my bathroom, which would be even more problematic. So every reflection presupposes an original source. You don't see your face, but you do not doubt that it exists. So this is it's a turn. First, we say that reflection presupposes an original source or principle. And then it says, you don't see your face, but you have no doubt that it exists, okay? So now we know that we see, so therefore we have no doubt that we have eyes, but our very eyes are unable to see themselves, So this is a Vedantic analysis. So the eyes that see the world cannot see themselves. Yet Claudio has no doubt that he has eyes, that has a vision. You understand? There is no why, because this is direct knowledge, by the way, aparoksha jnana, direct knowledge. Okay, so I don't need to see it objectively to know that I have eyes, I have a vision, that I have a face. You cannot see your original face, which is eternal, limitless awareness. You can only see its reflection in a pure mind. Okay, now it rounds, and comes to close that argument. So with the same way we cannot see our original face, our eyes, we cannot see limitless awareness. But we can see it reflected in a pure mind. And when we say we see, a lot of the time when we say you see through a certain sense, which is the mind, okay? The mind is a seer, and it's a better representative of the Jivatma seer, because the sense organs, they are a little bit stupid, but the mind is going to interpret and see things in a much wiser way, right? So we see consciousness, we see awareness, okay? And we see it by experiencing, by knowing its reflection. How you know the reflection of awareness? In your pure mind. How we know that? I mean, we talk about knowing that I have a face, knowing that I have eyes. I know that I have eyes because I see the world. Now I know that I am limitless awareness because I see its reflection in my mind. So how we detect this reflection of consciousness in our mind? This is a good question. How can I detect? I can detect that I have eyes by seeing the world. How can I detect that I have limitless, blissful awareness? Okay, awareness. Only by its pure reflection. But what is this pure reflection? So how we see this reflection, how can we accept the fact that Ananda or bliss is a good definition of what we are, and because we experience its reflection. So its reflection is Ananda, is bliss, is peace, is satisfaction. And every time that we experience peace, bliss, satisfaction, okay, we should know once we know. Before we know, we don't know, but it's yet we experience it here and there. when we accomplish our goals in life, or when out of the blue our mind becomes sattvic and we experience another Maya kosha in the awakened state. So how we know now that we know it? We know that I'm experiencing my true nature because I'm experiencing peace, fullness, satisfaction, okay? So every time we experience that, now that we know, I say, okay, now I know I'm experiencing my nature, okay? But then that brings us to another question. So does that mean that you only experience your nature when your mind is absolutely sattvic, free of desires and fears? So this is the next step. Because we identify the bliss as the reflection of consciousness, okay, in a pure mind, as it says here, okay? But how about the reflection of a consciousness in a desirable or fearful mind? You understand? It's going to produce what? It's going to produce discomfort. But once we know that that too is consciousness manifesting itself through a disturbed state of mind. You understand? That is limitless consciousness manifesting itself, appearing as, discomfort, mental, emotional discomfort, because the mental condition is under the spell of avidya. Okay, so once we know, that's why you hear again and again from Shine Word and from Ramji or Jen, that knowledge is that which is always good. Because once you know, you no longer depend on a certain state of mind to experience and know your true nature as blissful consciousness, you understand? Or Ananda, the third aspect of our nature. It's so simple. Knowledge is the most simple and the trickiest thing possible. And really frees the person to know that I'm not the body-mind complex. And somehow, once you know, you have no concern about your state of mind and the state of the Dharma field. Fundamentally, you have no real concern. These verses discriminate experiential bliss from the bliss of awareness. It's vitally important to know that reflected bliss is inconstant owing to the variations or the modifications of the proportions of the gunas. Okay? So the gunas, they are always modifying in their proportions. In every configuration, they are always somehow, especially in the subtle body, especially in the mind, it's all the time changing, producing a huge variety of mental, emotional experience and intellectual knowledge. So it's important that we know that reflected bliss is beautiful, it's wonderful, because we have a taste for experience. You understand? And sometimes we value experience more than knowledge, but it's important to know that reflected bliss, reflected Ananda, is not constant, okay? And it's subject to an end as well, okay? So it is inconstant, it's a flux in modification owing to the variations or actions of the gunas. The gross body the physical body reflects the existence aspect of consciousness, chit. So we know that the physical body does not experience its own existence consciously. because the physical body is inert matter. So, but the gross physical body, it somehow it reflects consciousness in the same way that a rock reflects consciousness. And this is a difficult statement sometimes, for people to understand. So a rock, anything, a lump of earth is there. It's reflecting consciousness, although it's not a jiva, it's not a sentient being, it's not conscious of its environment, okay? But anything that is an inert object is reflecting consciousness. How it reflects consciousness? By reflecting or demonstrating its existence, which is the sat aspect of chit, okay? So we have sat chit, and then the inert objects and the gross physical body is inert matter, It's there reflecting the existence of consciousness as sat, okay? So the subtle body, on the other hand, reflects the existence and the chit aspect of consciousness. So now we have the subtle body that does exist, but then somebody would say like, oh, the subtle body does not exist because we can't see it. We see only the physical body, but there are so many things that we know exist and they are totally invisible, like thoughts, emotions, such as love, hate, things that exist, but they are subtle and invisible. The subtle body does exist, and the subtle body is going to reflect or demonstrate two aspects of Brahman, the chit, the conscious aspect, because it is due to the subtle body that reflects consciousness, comes to the party, okay? So it shows up and it demonstrates the existence of this medium by which original consciousness appears as reflected consciousness. So far, so good, Claudio? The subtle body reflects sat and chit, both aspects of consciousness. And the causal body reflects what? So beautiful. What the causal body is going to reflect? It reflects sat aspect because we know that it does exist. It's our unconscious mind. Okay, most of our mind resides in its causal body, in its unconscious mind. So because it does exist, it reflects the sat aspect of consciousness. And because it feels good and peaceful, it reflects the ananda aspect of consciousness, okay? So the three bodies here, the subtle body, the physical body, it does exist. Therefore, we know that consciousness is there, showing up as an inert lump of matter called the physical body. And then the subtle body, we can say, yes, we can see consciousness appearing as sat, because I know that the subtle body is made out of pure energy, subtle matter, okay? And then it reflects or shines with consciousness, and we say, oh, there it is, the chit aspect of Brahman. The chit aspect of my true nature is showing up as the human consciousness, as we say. And the causal body is going to reflect the existence of Brahman and the another nature of Brahman, which is very nice. And it says that is the causal body that is going to reflect Ananda. But this seems to be a contradiction, because as we have seen, we experience Ananda Maya Kosha not only in the causal body, in deep sleep, but also in the awakened state when the mind is awake and alert, but free from desires and fears. So what kind of mind which is totally alert, okay, which is, it's shining with sattva guna, reflecting sattva guna, and utilizing the subtle body in connection with the physical body. And yet we say that Ananda is there at its fullest, you understand? And it is in the subtle body, but the subtle body, when it is empty or free from desires and fears, some of our scriptures say that the subtle body falls back into its causal nature. You understand? Because the subtle body is a reflector, you know, for the bridge of desires and aversion. So when the lake rests and then there is no manifestation, so this subtle body is sometimes referred to as if it rests in its causal nature, okay? So those are concepts. In those concepts, in every concept, we can find some source of apparent contradiction, okay? So we know that the Ananda aspect of consciousness can be, and it's better experienced in the awakened state, and in the awakened state, the subtle body is present, and the subtle body is in a certain condition in which there are no desires and aversions at play. Any considerations?
I was just thinking, oh, how lucky we are that this whole setup is the way it is. You know, it's just really great. Beautiful setup.
What setup? What do you mean by that? I did not really get it.
That that the light goes through all these different manifestations, the levels of subtlety and so forth, and you know, it's never lost. There it sits. The pratibimba, you know, by virtue of the bimba, it's, I mean, that we get to have that Ananda in the waking state. It's a super cool.
It is, yeah. It is a window now, of opportunity, or it's almost like an advertisement of Satchitananda. This sense of Ananda, no? It somehow it fishes us, it hooks us, and say, oh, there is something there. So let's see, because it feels better than many things in life, you know. This Ananda. Okay. So now we have someone who comes, an objector that says, when I negate the kosas, I should experience the bliss of consciousness, but I don't experience anything. I don't even experience consciousness itself. So what is wrong about this statement? When I negate the kosas, I should experience the bliss of awareness. So what it means to negate the kosas? So the guy is probably believing that, okay, I'm following the logic, and then I'm saying that any experience is not the self. I negate even the Anandamaya experience, okay? So I'm negated intellectually, but I'm not experiencing bliss yet. I'm not blissful. You understand? So I negated it, but I'm not blissful. So negation is one side of the coin, okay? We have to negate the not self as not self. And then we have to claim the self as our true nature. So we can negate as long as we want. But if we do not understand that negates only serve the purpose to claim the self as our true nature, you know, and then we remain in the realm of academic law, academic knowledge. We are not really applying it to ourselves. You understand? So when I negate the kosas, I do not experience bliss, because it's not only about negating intellectually, my experience, you understand? It is to assimilate it to a certain degree that convinces me and shifts my identity from my experience to the consciousness, illumining and revealing all experience. So I have to negate, I have to negate, I have to negate, and it's better. I don't have much expectations. What happened to Claudio? Let me see. No, he's still around there. He went into into the causal body of the internet. So when I negate these kosas, okay, I'm negating, and I'm still like, okay, so nothing has happened yet. I'm not blissful. I'm not peaceful, I'm not properly resolved, and so on. And I'm not sure. I mean, if I'm not this experience, what am I? So I'm still in doubt. It means that negation was, first of all, not really true and complete, I'm negating, but I'm not fully negating. I'm still having some investment on those levels of experience, okay? I negated superficially, okay? Another angle. So if I negate superficially, okay, it's still, there are some doubts there, okay? And furthermore, this I cannot claim unless I let go, unless I negate myself as my experiences. Okay, so I go negate until I negate with full conviction, and then at that level, I claim, I shift, and I accept my identity as the conscious awareness, the light in which, negation of experience take place. Okay, so I just negate, and then I claim the light as conscious existence. And then I'm going to experience the bliss, okay? But here he says, so far I have following the logic, but having no good results. And I'm not even experience awareness. I'm not experience anything. I'm not experience awareness. So first he says, I'm not experience bliss. Bliss is something objective. And then he says, I not only I'm not experience ananda, bliss, but I'm not even experiencing awareness, okay? So just imagine the frustration. People who were still somehow hooked into the idea that the self is an object of experience, you understand? So once I experience the self, I'm going to experience great bliss. No? Instead of understanding that once I know I am the self, I'm going to experience a certain bliss and peace. Once I know for sure that I am consciousness, existence of the nature, non-dual nature, limitless nature, and then and only then I'm going to experience ananta, satisfaction, peace. So, but here he says, I want to experience bliss. I want to experience awareness so that I can experience bliss. No, you have to know I am awareness, okay? And then bliss is going to be your common state, okay? I don't even experience awareness. You are never going to experience awareness, as we know. So the misunderstanding here is that it's not a matter of just negating the self superficially, negating the kosas, negate the level of experience. I mean, there was a period of time that I used to cut to the chase and say, oh, discrimination of such a media discrimination is just discriminating you from your experience. I used to say that often years ago, discriminating you from your experience, And we identify with our experience, and we somehow wrap our identities around our experience and so on. So to see experience as an object by itself, okay? And then you say, I'm none of this, okay? And then I can look and see the conscious, the light, which illumines and reveals all experience. The doubt is based on the idea that self-knowledge or moksha is experiential if the reflector, which is the subtle body, is negated. It's believed that the experience of bliss should disappear. Okay, so now this sentence here, if the subtle body or the reflector is negated, okay, so as we know, the subtle body is a reflector, but this reflector is going to produce a huge range of different experience, including pain, not only pleasures and anandas, but pains. So what we negate here is if my mental state, okay, is negated, and we are addressing here the mental state that produce bliss, ananda micro. If my mental state is negated, so I would believe that I should experience bliss, okay? But negate means that my mental state is known to me, and it does not know me, and I know it to be an object, okay? I'm rephrasing the commentary here, okay? If my mental state is negated, because I am not even that. I stayed for 3 months in samadhi, nirvikalpa samadhi, okay? And I traveled several lokas and so on. And then I came back, and then I felt limited again. And then I have to negate that experience, okay? That state, that mental state, and say it's not myself. Why? Because it's subject to time and modification. And still, that experience did not resolve me, because once I lost the experience, I feel limited again, okay? So once I understand that I negate the experience, but I really negate it through and through, and then the experience of satisfaction should be my general condition, okay? But not otherwise. So you cannot believe that by negating superficially, okay, you would feel blissful. Negation here, moreover, furthermore, means that I negate my identity as a state. I negate my identity as a mental state. Howsoever wonderful it may be, it does not define me, because I was there before these mental conditions, mental experience came. I was there through that experience, and I was there when it modified and faded. So who am I? Can I be any one of these blissful experience? Of course not. So I'm going to negate my identification, with that which change, with that which is a passing show. I will negate the kosas, means I will negate my identification with whatsoever level of experience, okay? I know them to be objects. I know them to be not lasting, therefore not real. There is nothing inherently unhelpful. What a way to write. There is nothing inherently unhelpful about experiential bliss. There is nothing inherently bad about experience bliss, except that it appears and disappears and fluctuates. So otherwise we like it, okay? We like experiential bliss, but we need to know that it has, a beginning and an end, and it changes. So we should never identify and try to freeze it or claim it to be what we are, or get attached to it, because otherwise we will suffer of samsara, attachment, okay? Attachment and dependence on certain experience. To accept these blissful conditions to last is silly. If you are happy and suddenly become unhappy, you are unhappy to be unhappy because you expected happiness to last. So beautifully put. Huh? So if you are happy and then the conditions of your gunas, the proportions or whatever dynamic change, and then you see that you have become sad or just tamasic, okay? And then you would say, oh my God, so it's fading, I'm losing it, you know? Why? Because you expect that condition to last. So Yang is the one that does never really put much value on mental conditions, on any experience, understand? Because you know that it's fickle. Fickle is the word that Ramji says, fickle. It changes, fluctuates. It comes to you today and then goes to somebody else tomorrow. No, once I heard someone say it's almost like a how you say, a whore, no? Or a prostitute. It goes with everybody. When you think that she is yours, and then it leaves you and goes somewhere else. So if you expect it to be present all the time, you are going to be unhappy at certain time. An enlightened, a free person is not unhappy when happiness turns into unhappiness. It's not nice play of words. Huh? A free person, a yani, is not unhappy when circumstances are very, very challenging and unfavorable. Okay, when circumstances are very difficult, and then the mind usually gets a little bit like that, and then the bliss, which it was before reflect, is no longer there. Okay, but a yani looks at that and says, oh my God, this is all mithya. Mithya is that which is changing from moment to moment. I was never really taking seriously that experience of Ananda. Therefore, I'm not going to take serious, okay, or give value to its opposite, okay? So a yani is not unhappy when happiness fades, because he or she is not identified with its mental condition, okay? So if you know you are not your experience, and if you know that furthermore you are not these mental, emotional conditions, you are the experiencer or the seer, the knower of that, and then it doesn't matter, okay? I mean, we may have certain preference, but it does not matter, because I have established my identity as the seer, as the knower, okay, as the illuminator of those mental conditions. Anything from you guys? Does it make sense? Yeah, none of this is strange for you guys. I'm sure about that. You know what we're talking about, because you have understood, in your own experience as well, knowledge and experience. The following verse is the 12th. It's true that the sheaths, the kosas, are experienced. This is the response to the objection of the person, maybe. It's true that the sheaths are experienced, and in their absence, there is no experience of objects or states, mental objects, mental condition. But consider the witness of nothing. So it's true that the sheaths, these levels of experience, they exist, okay, and they are objects, okay. And in the absence, because before we talk about negating the sheaths, negating experience, in the absence of experience, in absence of any experience, even Anandamaya cultural experience, which is a very subtle experience, or any other emotion, which is another experience, okay? It's true that the sheaths, these levels of experience exist, and we do experience them. But in the absence of experience, meaning to say in the deep sleep, in the absence, okay, of their experience, there is no experience of objects, okay? So the sheaths are experienced, and then when there are no sheaths, no mental conditions, there is just no experience. But we should never discount the witness of these no objects of experience, okay? So you negate the sheaths, and then the sheaths are still there producing experience, and then the sheaths somehow, they can produce a wonderful experience of nirvikalpa samadhi, even in which there are no tangible object of experience there, and then there is an absence of objects. Literally, there is no subject-object experience, but never discount the witness of that experience of no objects, okay? So there is always the light of consciousness, which is the light of the witnessing, non-experiencing consciousness, okay? The entity which is not an experiencing entity, but it is an entity, as the scriptures say, okay? And it's experience of witnessing no thing. No thing does not mean no thing. It means no thing plus the witness of no thing, meaning to say consciousness. Nice, huh? So no thing does not mean no thing. It means no thing plus the light of consciousness, which illumines and reveals the absence of things. Huh? So having said that, so how can we experience consciousness? How so our books, our scriptures say that we experience consciousness 24/7, as James likes to say. So how so we have that, okay? So because sometimes we have experience, sometimes we have light, and then the light reflects in the hand, and then we see the hand, and then because we are smart Vedantins, we say, oh yes, but I'm experiencing the light. The light is reflecting the hand and revealing the hand, okay? But then when we remove the hand, and then we go like, oh yeah, and now, so there is nothing on which light can reflect upon. Yeah? So now I don't see the light anymore because there is nothing it can reflect upon. Yeah? And then we have to know, we have to know that in every experience would not exist, experience would not be possible without this element, which is consciousness plus an object. So we experience the object, we experience the hand, we experience the space containing the hand, we experience the light containing the hand, and we experience the consciousness, the illumine, that is the absolute illuminate, the illumines and reveals the hand in the presence of light and space. So we need to have that perspective. And then we know that we experience consciousness plus objects. We can never experience objects without experience consciousness, right? It is impossible. So, and then what is the big deal about, oh, I want to experience consciousness? I mean, I'm experiencing everything with due to the grace of consciousness. Yeah. So, and I'm still wanting to experience consciousness isolated without any object of experience. And then you need knowledge. And then by knowledge, we're gonna know that consciousness can be experienced even in the absence of objects of experience. How so? As the light that illumines itself in the absence of objects, but it always illumines and reveals because it's vain. No, it's not because it's vain, because it is its nature. Huh? Okay, fullness, bliss is present with or without the kosas, the sheaths, because it is the nature of the self. So this consciousness is present with or without any experience, okay? Because the nature of the self is that which is always present, without which nothing exists. People do not want to let go of their identification with the doer and the experiencer entity. So they do not want to let go of this identification with their experience because they do not know that they exist apart from their experience. We make it so that we almost feel that we get our existence from our experience, and we do not know that our existence, our consciousness is a free and independent principle that does not depend on any experience, any object, okay? We are not part, product, or property of any object of experience. We are independent principle, okay? Which is not affected either by the presence or absence of objects of experience. So people do not want to let go of their identification with the doing and the experience because they do not know that they exist apart from their experience. As the fullness, as the bliss of awareness, they do exist. They exist as consciousness, and consciousness does not depend on experience, okay? The self, consciousness, itself, experience itself by itself without the aid of any experience. That's a good one. So that's one I like. The self is experience itself by itself, meaning to say, I don't need an object to experience myself. You understand? So the objects are there, and then I experience myself and the object. In the absence of the object, the self experience itself. You understand? There are no experience, and the self is there experiencing no thing. When you understand this, and knowing that the self experiences itself not in an experiential way, okay? It's experience itself by the means of knowledge, when the Jiva Atma understands that the self is that which is never not present, okay? And then the self experience itself, even in the not presence of the universe, in the absence of the universe, the self must experience itself, because the universe is just a superimposition in consciousness, okay? When you understand this, you're no longer attached to your experience in general or any discrete experience, such as Ananda Maya Kosha. This was a nice class, I would say, very rich. I love this topic. So I think that after today, I'm going to send you guys that enlightenment certificate, because I think this one did it. Okie dokie. Okay, we meet again coming Thursday. And lovely to be with you. It's also, I look for it. I look forward for these meetings again and again. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, my friends. Namaste. Love you. See you soon again.
Naga.
Huh?
Naga.
Yes?
We meet Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Silvetta. I hear Sylvia in the background because she's in the living room trying to tell me something and she was getting me confused. I'm going to travel this week for some medical exams, okay, in a big city, 4 hours away from here. We live so deep in the nature, you know, that we have this sort of discomfort. And the only dates I got was Thursday. So I would like to change our class either to, no, Friday I'll be traveling. It can only be on Wednesday if you guys are okay with it. Shall we do it? Yeah.
On Wednesday.
Yeah. The day after tomorrow then. Thank you, Sylvia. Namaste.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Thank you, Sylvia. She's shy.
Thank you.
Oh, she's smiling.
Ciao, ciao. See you on Wednesday.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.